Listen, if there were ever a video where the thumbnail should be a truly shocked out of your mind face on the thumbnail, this would be it within sneakers. I know that's already been used a lot, so hey, let's just get to the heart of the breaking news. Wow, Nike just sued the shoe surgeon. This could change custom sneakers forever. I'm gonna try to get through this video as quick as possible, and this is really just my immediate reactions to everything that we've seen so far unfold on Monday, July 15th. Typically, we think of this as Messy Mondays on W Twitter, and I guess Sneakers said, hold my drink. I can go ahead and make it a little bit better. So most of you are aware or familiar with the name Shoe Surgeon. He's certainly one of the most well-known sneaker customizers within footwear itself, but I guess that's a really interesting topic now, because when you think of the phrase live long enough to see yourself become a villain, I think that may also be something similar to what people may think. Become successful enough and you can become a villain or simply be a target. Now, this is the weird thing in footwear, or at least just what I've seen. If Nike chooses to ever go after an individual, a party, a business, doesn't matter. People feel some kind of way if you simply state that Nike is operating within their legal boundaries and rights to actually enforce their trademarks and anything that is protected. They will say it's lame, they will say it's corny, they will say like you're pandering to an actual brand or to the actual brand itself because you're operating within rights that you have, but any business owner wouldn't do that. Also, you pay a legal team to ensure that you are protected against anything or anyone that's operating outside those boundaries, crossing any lines, getting too close to the fire, which it feels like that's what Dom really did with not only the creations that he's put out with sneakers, but more so the actual school in which he's instructing individuals how to make these shoes on their own. And that was certainly brought up in the lawsuit itself. So again, I'm going to try to keep this pretty short and sweet, but the case, of course, is out there publicly because that's how cases operate within the US, where you can see Nike Inc. versus S2 Inc. doing business as the shoe surgeon. And also, if you care to really follow along and you happen to be on Twitter, I would just say, hey, you can follow Sneaker and Streetwear Legal Services, or it's at Sneaker Legal. One of course, naturally the source that I would say is great for any lawsuits that may occur, especially if you want a true lawyer's perspective, but then he'll break that down so it's a little bit easier to understand. But let's just go through what we've been able to see. So it says that Nike claims Surgeon is falsely misleading consumers to believe that Nike is affiliated with his business and they did not authorize this product, meaning they had no licensing deals or agreement that would allow Surgeon to do this. Now, I know some will say, well, hasn't he been authorized to do things in the past? Yes, he has. And when you're given a green light by a brand, I'm sure there's no problem and everything is great and it's signed off on and there are no lines being crossed. But if you venture outside of that, you cross the line in which they feel they haven't given you a right to do that. Yes, it does open the door for things. Now, I know the other red flag that'll pop up for people. Why did they not, bring this lawsuit sooner? It feels like this was overnight. Well, one, lawsuits usually do take time, and it's also been stated, or Sneaker Legal referenced this, that he's received cease and desist. You normally will receive a cease and desist before an actual lawsuit is brought against you. What you choose to do, how you choose to operate your business, or how you choose to move beyond receiving that cease and desist is on you. It truly is. And if you feel like, hey, I can continue to work past this and I'll be good, I mean, you bet on yourself, I guess is what they would say, but that comes with risk, and I guess the risk is being realized right now. So in relation to it being misleading, listen, when it comes to my thoughts, this is what I completely stated. Even if he's never alluded to this based on what he's created, right? He's never alluded to every single creation or pair that he puts out. It's in partnership or it's with approval by Nike. The common consumer, which would be just you or I, questioning, oh, when did Nike come out with that? When is Nike dropping that? I think that may be enough to mislead consumers in thinking that Nike is associated with that product. We saw the exact same thing when it came to other pairs that dropped. It didn't matter if it was Kool Kai or other people that have had lawsuits brought against them. If there is ever confusion within the common market by consumers that they are associated with something they are not and they have not given approval on. Do you know how much red tape there is within these bigger brands to get anything put out? Like anything, even a caption, okay? Like there's a lot of red tape that goes into so much. So yeah, I would imagine that if it becomes like misleading and then it hasn't gone through 50 different levels of approval that it would require at this big brand, then yes, that would be considered misleading to them. And then he goes on to say they called out the SRGN Academy for like counterfeiting 101. I mean, that is as direct as you can be, and maybe this was that proverbial line crossed, but I'm sure people will think there are so many other lines that were crossed. And listen, you can weigh in the comment section, and I promise you there will be extensive videos done on this. Extensive, so feel free to tap in and watch all of those. Again, just my first reactions, but in terms of the actual academy itself, now Nike is viewing, likely, like this is just my thoughts, okay? If Nike is viewing everything that Dom has been able to amass in terms of success and profit, which of course Nike is likely going to see that profit that could have been in their pocket, and trust me, there's a dollar amount associated with that. It's large. And now they're saying that, oh, you're going to replicate this with all of these others that will also continue to take money out of our pockets. And like, there's not just one misleading the market. Now there's going to be tons of little minions that are going to mislead the market. Again, I'm just being facetious and funny, but that could be their thought process. So he also said Nike does mention that they gave permission to SRGN on a few limited prior engagements related to commission one-off customizations. Again, I think this goes back to when you are operating within the parameters of which a brand is okay, it's great and it's fine. This is the same thing for athletes that may be signed to them. As long as you are operating within whatever parameters they've set for you, it's fine. And you may receive one-off exceptions to be able to do things, but straying too far from that, yes, it's probably going to raise some problems. So, I mean, again, with the lawsuit, it is very extensive now. When you talk about what does Nike want, remember I said there's a dollar amount, okay? So, Sneaker Legal breaks it down. This is, what does Nike want? They want the courts to immediately stop SRGN from selling counterfeit shoes. And the real question, I think, is going to be, what does this hold for the future of customs? Because they're looking at his shoes and his creations not as just customs. They're actually looking at these as counterfeit, regardless of if he's taking the base model of a real shoe and making his own. It's something he's making that looks beyond similar. I mean, 30 plus trademarks being willfully used without approval goes back to it feeling misleading because, yeah, it looks like a Nike, but it's not a Nike and not made with him. It says they want the courts to immediately stop SRGN from selling counterfeit shoes, stop his customization classes, stop using Nike intellectual property with collaborators, and they want money. Money is in caps for a good reason. To compensate them for the 30 plus trademarks he willfully used to make more than $60 million. Yeah. Now, there's also, again, there were 30 plus trademarks willfully. Now, when you think willfully, it means you knew and you continue to just move forward, right? Like when somebody says you're operating in willful ignorance, you know exactly what it is that you're doing. And please be mindful, I don't know that I need to say this. This has nothing to do personally against Dom. Like, I'm simply just sharing my thoughts on what's happening. When it's legal, it is just business. I don't think of it as personal the same way I don't think of it as personal against Kai. I don't know that individual, just like I don't have a relationship with Dom. I know individuals that have relationships with Dom. I'm not one of them. Just sharing my thoughts on the actual situation itself. But yes, being willfully ignorant, or meaning that you know what you're doing, you're choosing to completely ignore that there could be a problem. He willfully acted in using these, and that's why it stated they're asking for treble damages, which means 3 times the damages amount for willful infringement on Nike IP. I would just caution people maybe to just not infringe upon Nike, because for what they are paying, I'm sure for the billable hourly rate for these lawyers, and Sneaker Legal said they used a different law team. They used a different legal team than previous lawsuits that they brought. This one was thorough, and this is why he also stated, this isn't an overnight thing. Yes, they worked. He said they worked like long over the weekend to get this compiled, 63 pages, and filed in the court itself. But they had someone go through the academy class. This is what you call a true corporation, okay, to bring a solid case to court. Because if I'm paying you what I'm paying you, I want to make sure that this is thorough. And I don't know that you can get more thorough. I mean, they're even going after digital rendering. So I think this should just be a wake-up call for any and everyone that may be operating within sneakers and customs and creators in a digital, it doesn't matter, digital actual shoes themselves. You are opening yourself up to have the same thing occur to you. If that's still a risk you're willing to take, then fine. Does this set a precedent? We will all wait to see. If it does set a really, really big precedent within footwear in itself. But again, it is 63 pages. Wow. I mean, they bring up unauthorized collabs with third parties. Do you guys remember seeing the Wingstop Jordan 1 Low floating around? I remember seeing ruffles like up and down my timeline in relation to big seating packages that were done, right, and provided to creators. I remember seeing the ruffle shoe. I remember the Twix shoe. So all of these have been brought up, and he even said, damn, they did some digging for sure in terms of all of the releases and collabs that he's worked on, in terms of mimicking the Dior collection and then the Tiffany & Co., which I didn't really give two shits about either one of those shoes, but hey, I just didn't. So I feel this is the crux of everything. And again, there's so much more that I'm sure will open up and unfold. But the lawsuit should be an eye-opener for those that make custom sneakers, do digital renderings, host sneaker making classes, and create new sneakers that combine Nike and other brands' trademarks and logo collabs without both parties' consent. I mean, that's kind of it. If you have approval, you're probably in the clear. If you don't, there's always going to be a line that you finally cross. Who knows the line? Your guess is as good as mine, but I guess that line was reached. Some people are speculating it has to do with the all-white Travis Scott lows. I don't know. I am curious to hear your thoughts on it. Again, I'm sure as this story unfolds, we'll hear more. Lawsuits are not quick unless one party, which would usually be the defendant or Dom and his academy and his company, would choose to just want to settle this fast, quick, and in a hurry so that he can move on. But what does moving on look like past this lawsuit? I don't know. I know others that do customs. I am curious, maybe what are their thoughts right now? You know, I'm sure they may have to think of plan B or contingencies if this doesn't end well within the shoe surgeon's favor. Or if it does, then this may spark more to continue to grow as customizers. And again, I think we all thought this was fine because they were actual Nike product, like real Nike product. Of course not. There's always the real versus fake conversation, not getting into that, even though that is part of this because Nike has deemed them as counterfeit. But the common person, you didn't think of it as counterfeit, likely because he took actual shoes and then he made those into whatever he wanted in terms of the custom. Nike may now redefine what counterfeit is in terms of the law itself for footwear and trademarks. And although you as a consumer or a sneakerhead or just in this community may perceive it as one thing, whatever this lawsuit comes out to be, whatever that final verdict is, whatever the resolution may be, that may be like the final word on how Nike can move forward with counterfeit, customs, and all things involved. So please go ahead and comment your thoughts below. And yeah, what a way to start the week. All right. As always, act your age, not your shoe size. Peace.